Hello.
Hi, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Reasonably good. It's been
Good.
Morning, good
Morning.
afternoon, good whatever for everybody.
hi there.
He's quite definitely a whatever, as far as I'm concerned.
It has
I
been
just got back after a week on vacation, and I spent yesterday dealing with 300 open emails. So yeah, got no idea what's going on.
I've been out for some time as well, including vacation, but also a little swamped by work. So I'm kind of like you here, which is why Shane, I didn't answer your email about what are the next priorities, because I'm kind of catching up on things.
of course.
And I mean, so we can talk about that, but I think the main priority for now is going to be to make sure that everything is correct in terms of legal. So, well,
of course.
We'll talk about that.
The first
And
thing
by legal, I mean laws in each country. So we need people to review them, people who can understand the laws and make sure that what's written is
antitrust policy notice.
Yes, go on, Shane. Get in there.
Before we say what we're doing, I have to do antitrust. It's the rule. Okay, so
sorry.
The Linux Foundation, not at all. Linux Foundation has an antitrust policy. You'll find it on our website. Any questions can be directed to Andy Updegrove, our counsel. That's it. Okay, and back we are. So as you said, it's basically.
So what were we saying?
We're going to ignore the lawyers and publish everything.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
Well, it's open source. It's already published, right?
Correct. So what I was going to say was just it sounds like that means we're going to have to go into country reviews. I had a quick run at America. Steve, I know you did that as well prior. Mm-hmm. So I just worked on some formatting issues I saw. So just picking up HTML items that were still in the markdown, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, I defer to you two, but it sounds like we might need to start chopping up and allocating the giant country list, right?
Yeah, I think actually the first thing to do with the country list is to make sure it's the correct list of countries. I haven't really paid attention too much about when new countries have been created and recognized and so on, or changed name. So I don't know whether 2013 from the original survey, whether there have been further changes to the national recognized states that we should update in here first.
South Sudan in 2022.
Oh, there you go. Was that only 2022?
Yeah, and then we have the Pacific island of Bougainville that's separated from Papua New Guinea in 21. They voted in 2021, but it'll be effective in 2027. So we have some time. But
all right.
South Sudan,
yeah. So they won't have their own laws yet then. Okay.
And presumably shortly, Scotland.
Well, one can hope.
I'm just checking. The most recent one before South Sudan was Montenegro in 2006 that were listed as such.
But I mean, it strikes me that a lot of those countries are so small that they're probably not as high a priority as going through the larger economies and making sure unless anyone has a pressing need to do export to South Sudan.
It's a fair point, but I thought having somebody go through and revise a whole load of details for a given country that no longer exists would be wasted work. So
absolutely,
that's why I raised it.
Sanity check that everything here is here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it probably is, but we should do that. Okay. So that's an issue to open. Maybe maybe we're at the
stage. I have already opened it. I'm not sure.
Maybe. I don't see any issues.
We actually don't have Sudan, right?
No.
Okay, all right. I thought I did have something. Maybe it was on discussions, or maybe I just imagined it. Could be.
We have South Africa, South Korea, Spain, and then Sweden. And then Switzerland, which for a lot of people in the US is the same as Sweden.
It's close enough.
I mean, we have deer, we don't have mooses, whatever they're called.
and rather than meatballs, you tend towards sausages and just
And chocolate.
chocolate. So, if we were to chop up the countries, I guess that means we should have an issue, perhaps a new issue. Decide country priority. Big ones first.
I would say actually the first thing to do would be to go through the Wassenaar and EU files because they are then effectively inherited by a lot of the other countries.
A very good point.
But yes, I agree that things like when we get to the countries themselves, the USA should be one of the first ones.
Yeah. All the countries right now have a nice header that starts with version 27.0, comma, February 2013. This is really good. My suggestion is that for all country that we review, if there's a change, obviously we update to version 28.0 or maybe 30.0 actually, looks like a major update, and date it. And those that we don't update, we just write underneath checked or still valid as of, and we put the date. You know what I mean? Because at some point we want all of these to have been touched. And if there are no changes, we're not going to change February 2013. Oh, we could change February 2013 to whatever.
Yeah, I mean, on the US, I just went to 28, but that was arbitrary just because I mucked around with it.
It's okay. 28 works. I mean, for me, if we were the only reason why I suggested 30 is because we've done a major release or something like that. But since we don't have major version numbers, 28 works. I'm fine with that. I have no issue at all.
I think my recollection was I wasn't changing version stuff when I first split everything up because I was thinking of the content, the subjective content being the same, and I was just doing effectively reformatting. But we should probably add this to the contributing file in terms of rules for making changes to the country files.
Right, and because we've been instead of doing pull requests, we've just been doing it. We probably
we do pull requests.
I didn't do pull requests because I'm an idiot.
It is okay that we in our team, we're the core teams. If we don't do pull requests, I think that's not too much of a problem, and it's going to limit the overload. Pull requests would be from people who are not part of the core team, and they would probably not bother with the version number. And what we do is we take into account their pull request and bump up the version and the date. So we know how to edit the dates since we agree. And if we get pull requests, then it's like when somebody does a pull request on an open source project, they don't bump up the version.
Right. A good point. So in that case, we probably need to update README with rules or submissions or edit. Ooh.
Well, I'd say it should be the contributing file, but README as well is good.
Okay. So I'm good at fragments.
Move the updates to the contribute to .md once you've done it in README.
So maybe then a contribute file which just outlines do a pull request, and we'll patch it and iterate. Do one of you want to do it, or do you want to throw that at me?
I can give it a go. It's been a while since I did something on this project.
Okay, Stu volunteered.
Do we have somebody in our team or in our ecosystem that has legal understanding of this stuff that can actually maybe do some of the reviewing for the most, the biggest countries or the ones that are the most complex?
Yep.
I mean,
I think
in any case, no.
Yeah, I've tried to get the ADI export control team involved in this, and they sound interested. They don't quite understand the request. I think that it is sort of, yes, we'd love to help. We'll send you a checklist of stuff you can do that we have that we use. And so that's not quite what we're after here. I'm hoping that one of them will be able to join these calls. Like as I said on the last call, the official volunteer from that team that was thrown on this particular grenade is US based, and therefore the timing doesn't work. But there is one person in Europe which may be able to join, but when I tried to follow up yesterday, that person was on vacation because since it's a long weekend for the US, a lot of other people in the company are on vacation too. So maybe I'll be able to get somebody to at least come along and listen in, and maybe that way they will pick up more of the intent for the work group. But I'm still working on trying to bring them on board in terms of what the mission statement is.
Yeah.
Shane, you posted a link. The first link you posted in the chat is a USA.md with an anchor to Wassenaar, but there's no Wassenaar anchor in the USA.
That anchor is just a mistake. The the page had a legacy anchor in it.
So you meant Wassenaar.md?
No, I meant US.
Okay.
So just reposting. Hi, Julian. Julian just joined.
Actually, in the US page, the first part, which is export, the US has signed the Wassenaar agreement. We could link Wassenaar in there to the Wassenaar.md.
Yep.
Ooh. Smart.
By the way, guys, I just pinged Jimmy, just to let you know.
That's great, because if a few of his experts could drop in and maybe look at the US and EU and UK, it might be really useful. For the Wassenaar link, are you taking care of that?
I can do it, yeah.
Okay. The convert, I mean, Steve, you did a lot of work chopping this up, which was the really hard lift.
Oh no, that was the easy bit. That was trivial. It's the content that's the problem.
Well, the reformatting wasn't too bad. There were just some little bits and pieces left over, but the actual review of the material is going to need some experts. So I guess our dependency here is if the Ericsson kids can drop in and lend a hand. Next question is on the US. I found quite a few minor formatting things to pick up. So it didn't take long, but it took a little bit of time. Would it be possible to chop up, Wassenaar, EU, and maybe UK between the people on this call to have a quick review and tidy up Markdown? I don't know, Julian and Bernie and Nicola, if you'd be willing to, have a look at that.
I'll definitely take a look at it.
Okay, which one would you like? You have a choice. We like to provide options. EU, Wassenaar, or UK. So I'm just opening them now. The EU. And, sorry, I gotta move stuff around on my screen. Wassenaar, oopsie doodles. Wassenaar, and then there's the UK. So, okay, so the Wassenaar one, you can see there's little errors here just based on the HTML convert. Wassenaar is not so long, about 2 pages. UK, longer, it's like the US. And then, why did US wanted Wassenaar? Oh, EU. Wassenaar short, UK long, EU same. So what would you like?
I'll go with EU.
EU it is. Okay. I'll just post that link here for you, and I'll open an issue on that one.
Cool.
I'm happy to take the UK one. That seems kind of appropriate. Since I'm UK based.
Sorry, I'm not able to volunteer to help out with this just at the moment. Now, maybe next time.
Perfect.
That's okay.
Sorry, Shane.
No, not at all. This is just us seeing what we can do.
I can take on France and Switzerland. Just if we're going to have locals do their stuff, I'll do France and Switzerland.
I'm sorry, that sounds like one-to-one waging war on them.
No, we have to do them. So I'll just start with the one that I'm more familiar with. But again, I'm not a lawyer, so I probably need somebody to have a legal check on the content. But
well, yes, I mean, we're not talking about changing any of the material content. This is a formatting
it's reviewing
update.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
and perhaps adding links to places that are not linked?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so we had crypto law Switzerland and France, you said. My goodness, double trouble. Okay, so I'm just assigning all of these so we can track it. Isn't it?
Actually, yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry. Yeah, do you want to assign Argentina to me? That's where I'm from, and
sure.
And maybe Spain too. That's where I live and work. Why not?
Okay, if you want that as well as the EU, you're welcome to it.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right.
I mean, if I can find any more info, I can suggest also to update, because we're starting with something that is written in the 90s, right?
Yeah, and just coming into this time period now. So
2013 was last update, wasn't it?
it was
13. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Is there any reference to when was? No, because I mean the update is for the whole file, right? So
correct. Yeah.
At least now we're going to keep the revision on every country, which is great. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just realizing something is that all of these countries have a link that start with sources, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And so the sources file is actually still in HTML on the main website. So we'll probably, and it's the same source file for everybody. Sources 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's digits in there. So we're going to need to take that source file and import it into MD. Can you create an issue for that?
Yep. Can you just put the link in the chat for the sources?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a relative link as well, isn't it?
It's well, we should do a relative link.
No, what I mean is, if you click on the link for one of the MD files, then you get something not found because it's a relative link to the local repo.
Yeah, those have been.
So yeah, but we can take sources.html over there and create a source.md and just put source.md as a relative link, and that'll work.
Okay. To add a file element. Sources from the original website to repo. Placement should be in root or
no, I would say in the same country's directory. That way we can just have very simple relative. Maybe in data.
Yeah, I was going to say not necessarily in countries, because I think obviously it's not a country thing. I think having a separate sources subdirectory might be good. I don't know. So I can take that issue and I'll think about it.
Okay. Yeah, we can have a data/sources, and then we can add any additional file that we find that useful in a nicely represented.
So will someone create that data sources so that we can link to it?
Yeah.
Yes, I'll take the action to create something.
Okay, cool.
Double check I spelled Wassner correctly. I did. I'm a genius. Okay. I'm assigned Wassner agreement. Whew. Look at that. We've got 12 issues now. It seems like progress, but it's all like, we'll definitely do that.
Sure, yes. I was thinking that one other issue we might want to open is the maps content as well, because that's basically taking Bert's info and making a pretty coloured map of the UK, of the world a few times, and I'm sure that's doable in a variety of different ways, and it doesn't involve somebody having any kind of expertise in the subject matter. It's basically color these countries in this particular way. So maybe somebody else will be able to take that on.
Okay.
So have a clickable world map with countries, and then people can just click on it, and that'll take them to the country of their choice.
No, what I mean is, Bert's got a separate maps page, and it's got 3 summaries: the countries with import controls, countries with export controls, and countries with domestic regulations. And each of the countries, each of the maps shows countries colored in different things. So for each of those maps, it's basically providing a data set that colors the countries in a certain way. So if you go back to the crypto law survey, hang on, I'll post a link for this particular page in a chatty chat.
Beat you to it.
No, never mind. But yes, basically,
Okay.
color a world map with some of the countries in some colors. Repeat twice more.
So that's.
And then at some point, that data would need to be updated.
That sounds useful. Okay, so the issue is open to take original material. And then I guess the question is, I guess we can take the original to start with and just flag it's old, and then make higher resolution, easy to edit version based off a political map base later.
I was thinking that somebody would want to not create an image, but instead do it in an entirely different way using whatever open source available tools are there to render a world map differently.
In Wikipedia, there is this blank map world that they use for anything. Like if you look for visa requirements for Spanish citizens, you're going to find this map painted. I don't know if there's any practical way to paint so that you don't have to. But there should be, because they use this everywhere in Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's easy enough to do fill with something like GIMP or Photoshop.
I guess maybe that's how they do it. And it comes in full resolution and then could be scaled down.
Okay. Okay, so I just updated the issue with those notes. Steve, your note that we could maybe do it without an image, easier to edit, or if we go down the image route, maybe we take the Wikipedia image, which will be under what CC something. Attribution share alike. Yeah. Okay. I think we might have enough material to chew on and do our homework. What do you think?
Oh, it's plenty there,
I
yeah.
think so.
In that case, I guess we're moving towards the magical any other business area.
There is a Python software. Have a look at this. On a very quick look, it allows you to create world maps using Python and coloring them. It might be interesting to see if we could actually automate, by having for each of the various world map a value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the number of degrees in each of these MD files, and have the Python script look for each country's whatever value and then color the map accordingly, so that when we edit the file, it just
does it magically.
Does it? I mean, if somebody wants to do that as a fun project, I don't know if
Are you talking about this Panda world map thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
World map.
It takes the country names. I'm looking at the documentation, and it just takes country names. It figures out. I mean, it normalizes whatever input. You can write Brazil or Brazil with an E at the end. You can not even misspell a country, and it will just normalize and paint. So it's very easy to use.
That sounds interesting, because then if we had one Python setup and just the flags in the files, magic could happen.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. It takes the code to the two-letter country names. Right. So if we already have that in the countries, right?
Maybe not correctly for a Python script.
They're not necessarily correct. Like Switzerland had SU, but
okay, well that's.
But yeah, but that could be something to do. I mean, it's not too hard to do.
Yeah.
putting the right
Yeah.
country codes.
That's pretty cool. And the code looks really clean. Okay.
So,
So-
I mean, that's an idea.
It's an
If we
idea.
have somebody who wants to play with Python code, and I don't know if we can host a Python, a running Python app on GitHub, or if it would have to be hosted somewhere, which can be tricky.
I'm sure we could do this with a GitHub action or something.
We could use it in a GitHub action, and then if it's producing a map, that it's just spitting out the map somewhere, and then we have bind in the map or pulled the map in the MD files. Yes, this will be the way it works.
Okay.
So when we have a commit, the GitHub action is triggered, the Python is doing its stuff, painting the map, putting it somewhere, and then the link refers to it.
Okay.
I have no idea how to do that, but it sounds exactly like what I was imagining. So
I can take.
Yeah, well, this generates an it generates an SVG, so we can just run it, and then every time we modify it, we run it in a local computer, and then we post the updated SVG.
Jan,
Okay.
were you saying that you were volunteering to have a look at the action?
Yeah, can do so.
That's a really, I don't
The
have
plan
it
is that we parse the whole MD and see what kind of country names we find there, or what is the indicator, or will there be a particular indication set? Okay, these are the countries of with low or no or some import controls.
Well, we've currently got the fixed images that Bert produced, and I suggest that we take those and create 3 separate data files and use those for the scripts. And then at some point in time, we can update the data files to correctly reflect modern times.
What's going on?
Unless things change.
Yeah.
Can we add perhaps a tag to the MD so that we can
Right. Automatic.
ingest? Yeah.
Makes sense. I can come up with a definition here, and then we will just so that it will be simple to maintain. Yeah,
That'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, that falls into the category of one of the things I said I was working on last time, which was common attributes of each of the country files, and so that would definitely be an attribute of each of the map coloring types.
Yeah. Very cool. Looks like we accidentally have an extra awesome thing to do and a volunteer to look into it. Progress.
Well, that's what happens when you change the work request from update this legal information to write some code.
All we need now are procedurally generated reference material and standards for OpenChain, and we're really cooking. Okay. So do we have any other business on top of this, or?
I have a couple of updates. I've talked about the ADI team not quite getting involved yet, but they did send me an internal checklist, and some parts of that might be useful. It's a checklist that they use for working through product releases internally here. So an awful lot of it is specific to not just ADI's internal processes, but since we make silicon, it's an awful lot of it's related to questions to do with hardware, which of course has a lot more requirements on export compliance. But some of the sections may be generalizable if we cut out things just to leave the software area and focus it around open source generally. So I will talk to them about that. I haven't yet got confirmation that they did explicitly mean for me to share this internal checklist with the group. So I need to get approval on that first, but that's a possibility. Because it may lead again to metadata that we could use for each of the country files.
Right.
Sorry, not the country files, for software metadata. The other thing is, last time I pointed to a blog post relating to auditing cargo crates, Rust cargo, Rust crates and so on, and how some of the audits logs that are being published contain customized metadata for crypto stuff. I followed up with the author for that blog post and asked whether He was interested in getting involved in this kind of stuff and so on. Turns out that all that work's been done in Google, and it's been done internally for their own use. So they aren't interested at this point in time in contributing export compliance stuff, because they always go through their internal counsel anyway. So they're also worried about potential liability. I have gone back and said, we're not interested in doing the legal things. We're interested in providing the information about files so that it's easier to make those in-house legal decisions, in the same way that SPDX gives you a standardized way of identifying a license. It doesn't tell you what a license does.
Absolutely.
So maybe they will be more interested in doing that kind of thing. But at the moment, it's something they've done internally. They are interested in doing more formal analysis of cryptography within software. But again, that will be geared towards what's useful for them rather than generally useful. So maybe they'll come on board in time. But at the moment, it's not something they can help with.
That makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah. Question: if we're going to start defining tags, or maybe for attributes, would it make sense to make it SPDX-like? Because I mean, SPDX does not support encryption yet, but it will at some point. I guess. I mean, the CycloneDX on the other side is actually working on that. IBM is pushing, adding those definitions to CycloneDX. So I'm sure that at some point we're going to have it in SPDX as well. And since we're defining now attributes, maybe we can, have the, think of the existing naming conventions and so on to make it easier in the future.
Yeah. I mean, it can't do any harm as long as we make clear to people that whatever goofy hacks we use are goofy hacks intended to be changed to the standard future.
Yeah.
So no one thinks that, oh, these guys are making yet another tag format. Well, sort of, yes, but
Yes. At the moment, all I've been trying to think of is what sorts of things are common, so they could be represented as metadata.
Exactly.
And not told how to represent it yet.
And Julian, as you said, with the mindset that we're going to align as soon as possible makes a lot of sense.
Cool.
Okay, I think we have our homework. We now have 13 open issues. Not bad. That's one issue every 2 minutes that this call has lasted.
Productive meeting.
Exactly. Well, thank you, everyone. And I'm looking forward to the next one. We regroup in about a month. And meanwhile, we've got plenty to chew on.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
Take care. Be well.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you
Thank
all.